And the monthly meeting of the Health and Community Committee to be held in the Council Chamber at Guildhall on Thursday, the 11th of July 2024 at 4 p.m. So we'll move ahead with the attendance. So Alderman McMorris, Alderman Montgomery, Alderman Wilkinson,
Here, Chair.
Councillor Boggs, Councillor Boyd, Councillor Clark,
And Shaw.
Councillor Deeney, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell,
Here.
Councillor Harkin, Councillor Heaney,
It's on his way.
Councillor Hutton,
Wrong night.
Councillor Hutton,
And Shaw.
Councillor McDade,
Here.
and Councillor Tierney.
Apologies.
Thank you, members.
All right, we'll just move on to number 3, and that is the broadcasting statement. So I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. If you're seated in the lower public seating/media areas, it is possible that the recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. By entering the council chamber and using the press or lower public seating area, you're consenting to being filmed and consenting to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes, and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. If you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public gallery. A copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council website. All right, and we're going to move on to number 4, which is declaration of members' interest. Nothing? Okay. All right, and then number 5, we have our deputation from Sean McCarry, who is the Regional Commander at the Community Rescue Service, and we also have Ivan Barr with us. So you're very welcome, and I will hand over to you, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks members for facilitating us here today. I've been told that even though there's 60 slides, I've got to do them in 10 minutes. So if you blink, you're going to miss half the presentation. But I can assure you I will do that for you. Thanks for having us along. As I said earlier, as the Chair has already said, Sean McCarry is my name. I'm the founder and regional commander of the Community Rescue Service. Ivan is the district commander for the western area, which covers Derry, Strabane council area. So I'm pleased to have Ivan here today. One of the first things you'll see is, of course, when you look at the presentation, there's a couple of videos in it. I'm going to skip past them because you can look at them at your own leisure. They're only a couple of minutes long. And the question normally comes up if people haven't come across this before is who is the Community Rescue Service? And just a little bit of history, very brief. A child of the peace process, and I know I look like a big bearded child, but that's basically what we are, child of the peace process. During the Troubles and during the conflict here, there was no way that Lowland Rescue could operate across the province. But as a result of the peace process and normalisation, there was a major requirement for us to come in alongside our other colleagues like Mountain Rescue and Cave Rescue and operate in the 6 counties. So we're here. We've been here for 18 years, 19 years come up now, and we do quite a number of colleagues in the years, as you'll see. So who's the Community Rescue Service basically is where we're first at on the slides. The next one along. So here are the Community Rescue Service. I'll just go on to the next slide. Well, we're probably a little bit too far. I don't have my own clicker here. So we're part of the UK and Ireland SAR structure, members of the Association of Lowland Search and Rescue, and we're a regional organisation as opposed to just a local based organisation to cover the whole of the region. Formed, as I said, in 2007 as a result of the normalisation process, and we currently operate 12 operational units right across all of Northern Ireland. 210 to 220 operational staff at any one time, entirely made up of volunteers. The ethos of the organisation, of course, is a 100% volunteer. Over 210 operational members with 60 support staff, 4 MOUs with the PSNI about what we deliver on behalf of them with a statutory responsibility for public safety. And we're a founding member of the Northern Ireland Search and Rescue Practitioners Group. And if you just click another one there, we're also a founding member of the Northern Ireland Search and Rescue Policy Group. Just a little bit about ALSAR. The association is the governing body for all the lowland rescue teams across the whole of UK and Ireland, and that is currently 38 teams, and the Community Rescue Service is one of those teams. We are the biggest and the busiest team, unfortunately, due to the high level of missing persons due to depression and suicide we have across the 6 counties, right across Northern Ireland. Ireland in general has got the largest, or the biggest problem per head of population with suicide, and the city here and your area, Derry Strabane district, is not without its own challenges with regards to that. We'd work very closely with our colleagues in Foyle Search and Rescue on that behalf as well. So we move on to the next slide. I'll just give you a little bit about the statutory responsibility. The statutory responsibility for on land, the Coast Guard do from the high water mark out to sea, police do on land. And if you see here, the mountain rescue look after the mountains, a delegated responsibility from police. And then the Community Rescue Service would be looking after the from 2,000 feet up right down to we meet the Coast Guard at the high water mark. That's our responsibility. That's delegated to us from the police public safety responsibility. This is not the measles. I know it's going about quite a bit of the chicken pox. It's just a representation of where our teams are based. And you can see out in the western bit that you're responsible for. We do have a good presence here, and we are very busy in your general district area. That's who we are. A voluntary organisation there to provide the lowland rescue response as a sister organisation of cave and mountain rescue. So what do we provide? Well, I think you'll notice that the first thing is that we provide a multitude of stuff from on the land, on the water, right across that, forested areas in the towns and across the whole lot. One of our primary responsibilities is for missing persons. As the ALSAR approved and accredited organisation for all Northern Ireland, we're the primary responder on behalf of the police for any missing persons in the lowland areas. And that's done by highly trained and specialised search and rescue teams. The lowland rescue teams will provide things like fast water and flood response, boat on the water rescue and search, lifeboats and crews, and more importantly, and the one busiest bit of the whole organisation is the lowland search and rescue search technicians, licensed search technicians. The lowland rescue search teams, see where I'm at here. The lowland rescue search teams are, as I say, very easily identified. They use the high vis orange and similar white helmets, and they'll cover all different types of terrain. Equally, the vehicles that we use are all blue light emergency response vehicles under the legislation in Northern Ireland, and they're easily identified with the search and rescue Battenberg. Our inland search operations, we have to work, as I say, alongside the police, but and have to do it all types, day and night. It's not necessarily done during the daytime, it's done 24 hours a day. The nighttime search capability is something that's very important to us, and this is just a couple of examples of what we use. We use infrared and we use FLIR, forward-looking infrared to find people, along with very specialist torches and lights, etc. We have to cover all different sorts of places like roads, rivers, etc. I mean, I have in the past asked people where they thought that photograph of the river was, and people have given me all sorts of answers from the Amazon to wherever you like to be. It's actually the Blackstaff River run down the back of the Crumlin Road in Belfast, and a bit of a flood. So, you know, in the middle of a city, you can still have a lot of treacherous things you have to deal with. And unfortunately, there was a deceased person we recovered from there, an elderly gentleman who got out of a nursing home and fell over the edge and went right down in, just in the middle of the busy city centre. So it does happen. And again, if we move on to the next photograph, you'll see that this is a photograph of the middle of the River Bann in the middle of the River Bann in the middle of Coleraine. And again, one of our teams trying to recover someone with a spinal injury who's come off the Mount Sandal Bridge. We use all different types of boats as well as different types of vehicles. And they'll just flick on through here a couple of these photographs, and you can see them for yourselves. We have to use different types of vessels and boats, and even sometimes kayaks. We'll use mountain bikes and off-road vehicles to do the same thing. To quickly move on to some statistics, I'm not going to ask you to read them all, but we're doing currently an average in the last year and this year, an average of 450 high-risk missing person searches a year. Now, I want to put that into a little bit of context for you, and I will take a second with this one particular piece of information. If you just want to click on the next slide, and then we'll take you to the next one. In 2023, we were doing 436 high-risk missing person searches with 95,000 voluntary hours in search alone. That has a saving, according to the police, to the public purse of 5.5 million just in search alone. So it's a massive saving provided through our own, just our organisation, never mind the rest of the voluntaries. So, and that's just for search, that's not training or fundraising or anything else. One of the key things I want to point out here is 436 high-risk missing persons. That's out of a total of about 460 in total across the whole of Northern Ireland. There's about 13,500 people go missing on average per year, reported to the police. Low is one of the categories, medium is the largest, but high is a smaller category. But we're doing 90+% of those people in that missing category, and the police look after the rest because of other various reasons. Just that slide there shows you what happened in 2023 in January. I think the key thing in it is in that 1 month, nearly 5,000 hours and 40 taskings. If we just move on to the next slide, and it shows you 2024, we're up to 45 taskings and over 5,000. So it's not a decreasing demand that is on our services. I guess one of the points I'm making with those infographics. Apart from doing that, like foil search and rescue, going to be doing a sort of wider scale. We provide the safety patrols and the prevention patrols, and it's a statistical fact that community rescue service safety patrols intervene and save 1 life per week, which is over 50, as you know, a year, and that's according to police's own statistics with the safety patrols alone, and that's where they're able to intervene, come across and stop people from doing what they intend to do. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And the lovely thing about it is it's entirely free to those we provide the services to. A week, how about different time? Just nearly there. Okay. Quickly, we provide a sonar service as well for the police for across the whole of the province. Just go ahead through that one there. A sonar is a toadfish type that we use. Next slide will show you how it's used, just for information purposes. And if we're using a sonar, we're using it purely to do body recovery. We don't use sonar to find anybody's alive. But reuniting the lost ones with their families is every bit as important if they're already deceased, as you'll know yourselves, as finding them alive. We prefer to find them alive, but if we can't, it's very important to bring the person back to their family. This is one of the ways we do it. Just to give you a couple of slides, and I know it says warning. I don't think anybody's going to be over distressed, or just showing you a couple of images that are they're stock images from America, but it gives you an idea of what it does. You see a boat in the bottom, you can see a person in the bottom of a lake, and that's what we're looking for when we're working with a sonar. You go on to the next one. An example there would be on the right hand side, it's a bicycle, whereas on the left hand side it's a body suspended in the water. So it's very difficult at times to tell what it is, but it's a very useful piece of equipment. If we are successful on the land or on the water, we have to do a body recovery. And this year, so far, our teams have recovered 36 people deceased right across the province. So it's another very important part of what we do. The other thing that we get involved in is the extremes of weather. If the weather's very bad, and you'll see yourself, it can affect the people out in the streets, but also affects us. And often we have to deal with that when we're out doing our searching. All of our members are highly trained, uniformed, ranked service. They get specialist training as well, and any of the skills that they need, whether it be water or land, and it's done to national standards. The national standards are for everything we do. That's very, very important. This is all supported by a command support unit, and it's supported by advanced mapping systems that we use, as you can see on your slides. Another thing we do that a lot of people don't really understand and know about is we provide emergency response bikes. I'll just give you a quick look at a couple of slides, and you'll see there's one of them, and there's another one coming up. And that one will show you a bit better. We provide, we can do emergency blood runs free of charge for the NHS. But on top of that, we do a lot of emergency runs for the milk bank from Enniskillen right across all of Ireland, north and south, sometimes even into England, where premature babies or mothers with been treated for cancer urgently need the processed breast milk from the milk bank in Enniskillen, and it would be our bikes that would provide that service, as well as being used for search and rescue. Everything we do have to do and work in partnership, and we work in partnership with from the Coast Guard to the police to mountain rescue. It doesn't really matter. We work with them all. It's a very important that we're right in the middle. we're in between a number of other disaster responders and, fire service, no matter who it is, we'll work in partnership with them and train with them regularly. Another part of what we're doing is the community response bit. I'll not actually look right down that through, but we're involved in community events and very often community events right across your district as well. We couldn't do what we do without community support. And that community support comes from, our members come from the community, or the need comes from the community, and this funding comes from the community. That's where it all comes from. And hence the fact we're the community rescue service. A very quick summary of that is, you can see it for yourselves. I'll not really bore you with it, but the main thing about it is extensive search and rescue experience, clear command and structure with uniformed members, nationally accredited search managers, and available 24/7 free of charge. I think free is the next one. Yep. So there's a little video at the next bit. I'll flick past that, and then the only thing that's left for me to do in that very quick presentation is say thank you very much. I think I got it just nearly then, and I hope I didn't bore you completely or to go too fast. But back to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was very informative. I'll open it up for any questions to the floor. So, Councillor Boggs.
Good Chair, and thank you very much to Sean for coming on and, as you say, giving such an informative presentation, and also to Ivan, who's along with him as well, who I know does great work, particularly in my own end of the city and district. It's very unfortunate at times that we do see so much of these in the nicest possible way. I would love to see much less than we do, but in saying that, recognise wholeheartedly, and I'm sure everybody in the community does, the fantastic work that you do, particularly whenever it comes to a missing person, and trying to reunite them with their family. And I know how much that has been felt by people within Strabane, in particular over recent months. I suppose there's a lot in there as well about things that people wouldn't know that you do. A lot of that community stuff while you're out there and you're visible, but for people that don't see you out there, they may just think that you are an organisation that goes looking for missing people, and that's not true. The support that you provide, hearing about the milk bank or how you support our healthcare system is particularly interesting, because it's not something that I was aware of myself. And I think that's to be commended as well, that you are so versatile and provide such a valuable service right across our community. I suppose I just have a couple of points to kind of pick up on, Sean, if you don't mind. I obviously am from Strabane, where I met you when we first kind of talked about you coming on to present to council, and I'm glad that we've been able to do it so swiftly. I obviously recognise, and anybody who lives in Strabane, Lufford will recognise that, the river separates two jurisdictions, if that's the way you want to talk about it. But I suppose, what cross-border relationship do you have with other organisations in the 26 counties? What support do you feel is needed for your organisation going forward? I mean, you talk about a £5.5 million save on the public purse on searching alone. That's not even to do with the community aspect, the training, anything. What do you need to get back? What do you, where do you see yourself growing, or what support do you need in order to do that? And I suppose one of the most important things as well is you are always on the front line helping other people. So I would just be interested as well about, how do you and your team ensure that yourselves are looked after as well? Because you obviously see very harrowing, very difficult, emotional situations. And I would be keen to hear as well about how you ensure that your team stay on top of their game, because if you lose them, or if we lose them as an asset, if they're not being looked after, then we lose the valuable service that you provide. So just a wee bit more information in those three areas, if you don't mind. But thank you very much for your time today. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Paul, and thank you very much for, as I say, we did meet and you helped facilitate the presentation here today. On the point about the cross-border side of it, we operate across the whole island. As a matter of fact, even right into the UK, and we've been, Scotland and England as well. Now, we don't have a primary responsibility there, but we will go and bring specialist help to wherever it needs to go. We've even been to Holland. We've been to Holland looking for an Irish fella from down south whose family have come up north, and he went missing in Amsterdam, and we were able to locate his body in the canals, working alongside the Dutch police. So, we're not bound by the boundary, but the majority and the main bit of what we do is right across the Northern End. but we have a great reach and a great presence with the Garda. It works really well, the Irish Coast Guard, but in particular with civil defence, because lowland rescue was throughout the UK and Ireland was pretty much born out of the disbandment of civil defence, and that's how it changed into it. So we don't have civil defence anymore, but we have it still in the south of Ireland. So we've got a sister relationship with them as well. What I didn't mention when I was talking to you here as well was, and it's worth just a quick mention here, is one of the things we do is we provide, we are responsible for the CCTV systems in some of the town centres. You might say, well, what are we doing with that? But I'm sure everybody's thinking that right now. But some of them get defunct and they get under pressure for funding, etc. It's a vital tool to us for missing persons. So we are really keen and interested in keeping that going. And we do it in a combination in some places between a commercial and partnership with ourselves, or a council stroke ourselves, and where we've got a couple of paid people through ourselves, and then through council or other funding. And then we supplement that with our voluntary CCTV operators, so we can get a cost-effective solution that provides what we need for the CCTV solution. So we're involved in that with Causey Coast and Glens, Mid Ulster, Lisburn, Castlereagh, and Mid East Antrim are currently talking to us. And if we could get enough of a grouping, and I'm not by any way suggesting that you guys have your own thing, but we've certainly talked to you about it. But if we get enough of the grouping together, we can then provide that service on a fairly 18 to 24 hours a day basis. It's recorded all the time anyway, but viewed on that basis at a very cost-effective solution for one central control room. We cover all that from our own control room at the minute. I think your other question with me was about how our guys how we look after our own welfare. I think there's another one in between somewhere too, but I'll get that in a minute, Paul. The welfare side of it is really important. We have the lowest level of PTSD, if you want to call it that, and that is a very generic term, stress-induced mental health issues of any organisation, either statutory or voluntary. And that was recognised by the Prince's Trust in England whenever Prince William made an appointment to come and see us, and we wondered what he wanted to come and see us for, and he spent a number of hours with us discussing, because the national figures, because we all report into it, showed that Community Rescue Service had the lowest level, and we were able to explain that very easily. It's one large family supported by a smaller community. Here, across all of Northern Ireland, we've got a very tight communities, and they all support everything we do, and we're always very well supported with that. We also support our members the same way. So we've got training on how to deal with it internally. We've got counsellors internally, and then we've got that massive family support side of it, if you want to call it that, and everybody feels part of that family. There was something else in there you asked me, and I'm trying to remember what it was.
If you don't mind, Chair, thank you. Just in relation to, you mentioned the saving of 5.5 million to the public purse. What do you need back at this stage in order to see yourselves grow or to be able to do your job more effectively?
Yeah, and that was, I think one of the key things we want to do is firstly inform members of what it is, because the type of work we do is all very under the radar, a bit like a lot of stuff Foyle Search and Rescue do as well, and some of the organisations. We're not going to be talking about it. We're not the lifeboat where if I go out in my boat and I get in trouble, you can video me and I'll stand on TV and say, what a great job. Or the people we go for can't do that and won't be able to do that. Even people who go up the mountains, hill hiking, will be happy to do that for mountain rescue. But it's not the same for us, because these people are still very vulnerable. So you can't use that for publicity. So if you had an experience with us, as you say, Paul, it's probably because you've had a close or a tragic incident or whatever it happened to be, or you're aware of it. So we can't shout about the publicity side of it. So it's important to keep doing things like this to inform people. What we need possibly from yourselves is, we certainly in your area in Strabane want to try and develop the boat on the water all the time, rather than have to try to launch it every time it's there. So we have a bit of ground beside the ramp, and we certainly could do with a bit of support from council, and maybe it'll be moral support and maybe anything else that we could do to help us to establish that on the water boat presence there all the time, to replicate what Foyle have here, because that's outside of their area, and by the time they get up there, it's at least an hour and a half before they get up there and on the water. So we can be there in minutes, but the launching of it slows it down by maybe enough to somebody lose their life. So we've got that sort of thing going on. Any other developments we have on there, we'd like to keep this committee informed about it. That's the idea behind it.
Thank you for that, Sean. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Sean and to Ivan for coming in. I just wanted to thank you. I mean, unfortunately I have experienced it. In November, Ivan and his team recovered a body from someone I knew very well and looked after, and I honestly can't describe the kindness and the compassion that came from Ivan and his team, and how respectful they were when the body was recovered. I hadn't heard of you until then. We thought it was foiled search and rescue arriving whenever we seen the vans coming, but Ivan introduced himself and kept us well informed, and I suppose I just wanted to put it on record just to thank them, because it was a really difficult time. It was a long few weeks, I think, it took, and they were there every day, night and day, looking after us and looking after themselves and looking for the man. So I just wanted to put on record, thank you, and we'll do everything we can to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. So just on behalf of the committee, Sean and Ivan, thank you so much. We know how vital this work is that you do. 95,000 voluntary hours, 365 days a year. That's really stuck with me. That's amazing. So anything we can do to help, we're more than happy. So please keep in touch. And just on behalf of the committee, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to everybody. Sorry for taking up your time, but we do want to try and keep you informed, and thank you, Paul, for facilitating this as well. Thanks. We'll probably get out of your way here now, let you on with some business.
Councillor Boggs?
Just on the back of that, Chair, maybe if there's any input from officers in relation to whether or not we can go away and look at what support we could provide to that organisation, particularly in relation to the comparison they've made by the launch pad, if you want to call it that, for the boat at, you know, in the dairy side of the council area, and how we can maybe explore similar options for Strabane, where they currently have their launch pad, but that is causing them issues. So I don't know if there's a role there for officers to go away and explore that with the organisation themselves, or for maybe to inform us of what work they could get involved in. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boggs. And Karen has said she'll take that on board and explore that. So thank you for raising that. We are now going to move on to Chairperson's business. I have two pieces of business today, and the first person to contact me was Councillor Boggs.
Chair, and I'll be brief. It's just in relation to an issue that I raised with a council officer on Riversdale, and I just want to get some more information from officers and maybe to come back with a response. It's in relation to classes on the timetable, and one class in particular that I have been contacted on a lot was a water aerobics class, which is predominantly attended by women. And those who have raised it with me have said that they attend that class on the advice of their GP or on the advice of another community kind of health initiative that have recommended it for menopause or weight loss or mental health or anything else. So basically, there's usually 4 classes that run throughout an ordinary week, 2 in the morning and 2 in an evening, and that has now been cut over the summer with the view, which I hope is a commitment, but at the minute I've been told it's with the view of reinstating all 4 classes come the end of the summer again. But I just want a bit of information in relation to, is that the same approach that's taken across all of our sites in terms of timetabling? Is the same in Foyle Arena that there are classes cut over the summer? And also, is any consideration given to, you know, the target groups that use that classes like that? So, you know, if we have 2 classes in the morning, 2 classes in the evening, and we've wiped the 2 evening classes, the point that's been made to me by constituents that use it is that if you're a worker or you have caring responsibilities, then the morning class doesn't suit. So it's only people that suits the morning class. You know, is there an option to look at keeping one morning, one evening if there needs to be a cut at all? So I would just like a bit more information around the process of it and whether it happens across all of our leisure sites or not. Thanks, Chair.
Through yourself, Chair. I don't have the full detail around all the other leisure sites, but I'm led to believe this issue is in relation to availability of instructors over the summer period. So if the instructor would be available, that would continue over the summer months, but it wouldn't be uncommon during the summer months for lots of classes, be it water aerobics, yoga, spin classes, around availability of instructors. So the programs across all our sites probably would drop over the summer months. People away on holidays, instructors away on holidays, but it's not a policy decision really that you cut it during the summer. It's all based around recruitment of instructors, and most of those instructors are external to us, you know, as an organisation. So, you know, we can get more detail around that, but in terms of it starting back up in September again, it's around the availability of instructors to take that 4 times a week. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Boggs?
Just a small point, and thanks, Barry. Would it be possible for maybe some consideration to be given that if it is availability of instructor, that even different times are looked at? Now, I agree then that further the availability of instructor could just say, well, I can only do mornings. But, you know, if the instructor was able to give 2 sessions a week, was any consideration given in this instance, or an instance going forward, to the fact of, well, maybe we should have a morning and an evening rather than 2 morning, because there are now a large amount of people, and like these classes, I'm told, are booked out and people are on a waiting list on their membership app to get onto them. You know, so is any thought given to making a spread of times or days of the week that it's available? So, but I appreciate that if you have any more information to bring after.
Through yourself, Chair, and it is different in each site with each different instructor, but I am led to believe that this is in relation to this instructor, it is, yeah, they can't do evenings for that period over the summer months. It could be very different in another site where they're saying they can't do a week or 2 weeks, but it's over the entire summer period. They can only do the morning classes. So that's the case with this particular issue. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. And my second piece of chairperson's business is Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to keep it brief as well. It was just in relation to Pilot Row. Barry, I know you had been involved in the last meeting that took place at Foyle Arena. I wanted to see if there could be an update given in relation to Pilot Row. I've been contacted this week with tenants that are within the building. Some of the rooms are not available now over the summer months, obviously because EA be using them for services for the young people. And some of the services that they've had to cut now over the summer were ones that involve women's groups and sewing and knitting clubs, etc. So I just wanted to see if there's an update in relation to the progress with EA. I know we were waiting on the audit report and there was issues around the funding for that. So I don't know whether you can give me an update now, Barry, but if we could get a paperback and maybe a meeting in the diary, just so we can see what's happening with Pilot Row. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll get a paper back, Councillor Hutton, certainly after the summer recess, but I can give you a bit of an update. So in terms, look, the issue you talked about of rooms not being available, leave that with us. I'll talk to the officer team to contact the EA because it is while they manage and run the facility, it is a joint facility. So we should have been consulted with around any of that. So look, leave that one with me. With regards to the process, you'll be aware I brought a paper in. There was a paper brought in looking about a technical feasibility study on that day. The EA had said that no funding available to do that, and that is at their behest in terms of what they would like to split the building in two. And we have obviously our certification, Legionella, etc. requirements, so we need that report done. I met them a number of weeks ago, and they're still in the same position. They don't have funding now. Maybe now with additional money coming into the executive, they may have some money locally, so we will again be following up after the summer recess and have another meeting with them. But look, we'll get a meeting with the members that are on that joint committee as well after the summer recess as well. So that's 3 things. I'll get a report back, we'll get the members meeting, and then we'll also arrange a meeting with the Education Authority around the technical feasibility stuff. Thanks, Chair.
That's great. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. So we're going to move on to item number 7, which is the matters arising from the open minutes of the Health and Community Committee held on Thursday, the 13th of June, pages 69 to 92. Any matters arising? Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. And it's item 148, which was the consensual grant making. I have been approached by Northwest Volunteer Centre, which is an amazing organisation that does sterling work across the city and district and has been funded via council for a number of years. They've been unsuccessful this year, and the view of that organisation is that because it's a district-wide organisation providing district-wide services, that it doesn't necessarily align with the individual DEA's consensual grant-making model. And the view of the organisation is that a separate and distinct funding stream for organisations that provide services on a district-wide basis should be explored. And this is about volunteering. It's about promotion of volunteering. And I note that there is a clear commitment in our strategic growth plan about enhancing volunteering opportunities, about sustaining the current volunteer levels, and instead of investing in that, we've defunded that organisation. And I would note that a number of councils across the north, like Mid-Ulster, have given £7,000 to a similar organisation in their district, and ABC have given 10 grand to an organisation that operates there, and we haven't. So my question would be, have council officers given any consideration to sort of a bespoke funding arrangement potentially for organisations that deliver services on a district-wide basis? And if not, could a paper be brought to a future committee about the sort of pros and cons of such a proposal? Thank you.
Yeah, through yourself, Chair, I am aware. I think some of the officer team have been engaging with that organisation. You're correct, they were funded in previous years, and outside of the consensual, as members will be aware, we always did allocate monies per DEA, and there's a competitive process. So they had availed of that competitive process in recent years and were successful, but they were not successful in the competitive process in one of the rural DEAs this year. So look, as with all of the conversations around this, be it a venue fund or consensual or community support fund, there's never enough money to go around all the applications that come in. So there are good applications that come in. With regards to your, a central wide pot, again, without any growth in the budget, that would mean that we'll be cutting budgets in and around the DEAs, so there'll be less money going into each of the DEAs. But we have had conversations as well with colleagues in DFC at their recent consultation. So that is the type of money that DFC, they normally fund regional organisations around volunteering. So I'm not sure if the mechanisms where the other councils fund them, but look, we can look at that in terms of bringing a further report back in. But unless the budget's increased around grant aid, that'll mean that if we do increase the budget in one area, it'll be reduced in another area in the local DES. Thanks, Chair.
Just briefly on that, and I appreciate your response, Barry, and I think we all understand the funding difficulties that exist right across this council. But I do think the North West Volunteer Centre make a valid point about the fact that they do deliver services on a district-wide basis. So we would appreciate it if there was a paper that came before councillors to make a decision potentially on slightly changing how we allocate the funding, but I appreciate that and thank you.
Councillor Harkin, is this on the same issue? Different issue, so Councillor Duffy?
Same issue, just in relation to the issue. I'm aware that there was other organisations who went through the competitive process within particular areas who provided district-wide services. I'm thinking of the YES project. So there were opportunities within that for people to get funding. Now, I am happy enough for a paper to be brought back, but I would be very reluctant to see money taken away from individual budgets within individual areas. It's very important that the consensual grant making process gets an opportunity to bed in and actually start delivering for local communities. And I think it's up then to the local communities in terms of what they see as their priorities. Completely understand in terms of the work of the Volunteers Bureau and what they do. Unfortunately, they were unsuccessful this time, but I would not want to see money taken out of a budget. So it's about what we can do to increase budgets, not take away from budgets. So I just want to be very clear in relation to that. Thank you.
I want to be equally clear, Councillor Duffy, that I haven't proposed that existing budgets be reduced by 1 penny at all. All I've asked for is a paper showing sort of pros and cons of introducing such a proposal. Thank you.
All right, Councillor, I think it was Alderman Hussey. Sorry, first Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity, not a member of committee. It's just with regard to the proposal on page 78 from Alderman Wilkinson, seconded by Councillor Boggs, with regard to the Artie Garden plant. Is there any update on progress? I mean, that has gone to full council, been endorsed by full council. What progress is there?
Apologies, Alderman Hussey. Can you repeat the question? I wasn't paying attention.
Right, it's on page 78. There was a proposal after discussion with regard to a smell issue at the Artie plant. There was a proposal
Yeah,
that council would do all within its power to address the ongoing issue. Council would also set up multi-agency meeting, various agencies, etc. I know this is an issue in other council areas, but you know, this was brought to this council specific to our area. It has gone through full council and been endorsed. So what's happened since?
yeah. Through you, Chair, we have been liaising with the Northern Ireland Environment Agency in relation to the complaints. The last correspondence I had with the agency was that the complaints have been resolved. There was an issue with the wastewater treatment plant, and a meeting is to be set up shortly, with a multi-agency meeting is to be set up shortly to discuss what action can be taken to ensure these incidents don't arise in the future. So members, we will be in contact in relation to membership of that meeting and representation from members in that area.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, just wanted to declare an interest in that item.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy, and thank you, Seamus. Next matter rising is Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's HC 13924. And look at our last health and community meeting, we had deputations from the Trussell Trust and the Foyle Network Foundation, and they presented to us the alarming statistics on poverty, deprivation and child poverty across the north and here in our own district. And we agreed to support the proposals coming from the Foyle Network Foundation to the executive and to the council. And one of the calls that the Trussell Trust and the network was making was for the reinstatement of the summer holiday hunger meal payments. And I think we can all agree that it was a disgrace that those payments ended, because poverty doesn't stop during the summer, nor does child poverty or child hunger doesn't end when children get time off for the summer. So it was very, very disappointing that the executive didn't, or the minister didn't make an announcement that that would be reinstated. They didn't heed the call of many anti-poverty organisations across the north and our own council. And I think that it's very unfortunate that that has been the case. There was a lot of announcements in the week of the elections, and it was disappointing that that wasn't one of them. And I think if it had been announced that they were going to restore the holiday hunger payments, that it would have been welcomed. So I would like to propose that we write to the executive and to the minister expressing our dismay and disappointment that the holiday hunger payments weren't restored and reinstated. I think we have to do all we can to use this council as a platform to challenge the executive's failure to, even now, many months with a restored executive, to come up with an anti-poverty strategy. And I think we have to put as much pressure on the education minister and on the executive for a change of priorities. You know, there's been week in, week out, we talk about child poverty in this council, and there is next to no action from the executive. So I don't think we can be silent on this. And look, I commend, and I think others commend, all the efforts by community organisations who have told us that last summer, without the holiday hunger payment, the number of food parcels that they distributed skyrocketed. It'll be no different this summer. And we can see that there's you know, individuals trying to address child hunger across the district. But this is not an acceptable way for our government to address this issue, by not addressing it and leaving it up to individuals and under-resourced community organisations. So I think we have to be putting as much pressure on the minister to explain why there's no action and to get the executive to come up with a plan. So I've sent Paula there a proposal, if we can get that up on the screen.
I'll just give everyone a minute just to read through that. All right, Councillor Duffy, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and thank you to Councillor Harkin for bringing the proposal. More than happy to support the proposal as it stands. I think dressing things up and calling it holiday hunger is just dressing up a pig in a poke, as my dad would have said. Hunger is hunger, no matter when it happens. I think that what we need to do now is, we have seen in terms of the Sinn Féin, we have been bringing through a bill in relation to holiday hunger through the Assembly for a number of years, trying to get that passed. I think that the Minister does have a responsibility to step up. I think the Minister has a responsibility to provide for children who are off on holidays at the minute and who aren't getting access to free school meals. Absolutely. I want to commend the community organisations who have been stepping up and have been providing breakfast meals throughout the day and activities for people, but also some of our local businesses who have also stepped up. Claude's one, Cafe Central another, and 9 Hostages at the top of Waterloo Street. They have all stepped forward in times of great need for themselves, where they're under strain in terms of fat increases and what have you, but they're still putting their best foot forward in terms of trying to address this issue and be good citizens within our community. So absolutely no problem in supporting this proposal as it stands. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy and Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. And just, I suppose, just to echo what's already been said, I'm fully supportive of the SDLP, or fully supportive of the motion. I'm assuming you seconded it, Sandra, or if it needs seconded, whichever way. I think we're all in agreement that the poverty, the child poverty, the food poverty in this city and district is shocking. I've been meeting with different like businesses in the foil network and different people that are providing this service within our city, and it's not their responsibility. They shouldn't be having to do this. This is down to the executive. There should not, in this day and age, people should not be going hungry. So no, we fully support it, and I think we should be calling for it quite angrily. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you very much, Chair. And not a member of the committee, and thank you for allowing me in. There is this issue which Councillor Harkin has raised, and this was obviously the payments then over the summer months were only brought in then at COVID time, so they were a new addition, but then when it is taken away again, it is that difficulty. But another basis in my line in this regard here into the free school meals and the uniform assistance, it's tying into universal credit and the lower income level that is applicable there, whereby there was a system on the tax credits where it was just over 16,000. Now it is reduced now to 15,000. So therefore you are knocking out another income bracket there, whereby there potentially more ones will no longer be eligible for that. So it's again, it's another complication with the universal credit, and it's another thing that needs to be pushed and fought as much as can be, because there are difficulties as well leaning on that in regards to universal credit. Those that would be self-employed, and there's complications with them that have been moved across from working tax credit onto that. So again, it's an added complication from universal credit, because there is that gap then of an income, a household income from 15,000 to 16,190, and you're going to have another group of people which will miss out on this payment full stop, not just over the summer months, but over the full school year. So it's another aspect there that universal credit has to be pushed. This is one thing to push, but there could be additional now added onto that. So it's an aspect there which Councillor Harkin has brought forward this, but I feel that there's potential of increasing there as well. So it's another aspect that needs to be pushed by members as well. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in.
Thank you, Alderman Kerrigan. Are we all in support of the proposal? We're all okay. So that is Thank you, councillor Harkin, for that. So we can move on now to item number 8, which is Victoria Bridge Community Hub update, pages 93 to 96, and Barra is going to take us through this.
Thanks, Chair. Members, the purpose is to update you on the progress to date regarding Victoria Bridge Community Hub and take your approval to explore the relocation of the Victoria Bridge Community Hub to the grounds of St Eugene's Primary School, including the relevant LPS valuations. Members, you'll be aware in November 23, due to issues with the flooring, the porta cabin of Victoria Bridge was closed. Officers have been working closely with the community forum to explore the use of alternative local facilities in the short term and then looking at a medium long term option. In recent months, members, the community organisation have asked us to work in partnership with them to explore this new option. So the land where the current porta cabin is located is owned by DFI and a local farmer. We've been liaising with DFI over a number of years to get the land transferred. However, the transfer hasn't been completed and the existing site's restricted in relation to the amount of available space. The forum and the primary school have asked council to explore the possibility of siting a new replacement community hub in the local school grounds. And as part of this work, officers have been liaising with the community group, the school and our legal team to see if this is possible. There'll be a financial cost to council for a new replacement porta cabin to be relocated at the proposed school grounds. It's anticipated that the project will be costed and progress through the capital working group subject to identified funding. In order to progress to the capital stage, there are a number of legalities that would need to be confirmed and completed for the new proposed site. So members, you'll see in section 4 there as well to explore the legalities around this. Further engagements required from our legal team and the diocese as the owner of the lands. It's anticipated the community forum will continue to hold a shared management agreement if a new facility is placed on these grounds, and the facility will be council owned, community managed. So in terms of recommendations, that you note the content of the report and you approve officers to explore the relocation of the community hub to the grounds of the primary school, including relevant LPS valuations, with a further report brought to committee to update members in progress. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Boggs.
Margaret, Chair, and thank you very much, Barry, for the update. I know that you're kind of premising it with that there's a lot more to go and there's further areas to cover in terms of legalities and all the rest, but I think it's a very positive step in the right direction, and I know Councillor Devine for one will be glad to see it moving somewhere. And I think at this stage the Victoria Bridge Community Group have to be commended because they are a small group of volunteers who do absolutely fantastic work as in many communities, but they have really been steadfast in us and about needing the new premises. And from speaking to Councillor Devine, who has been engaging with the group heavily, you know, they have the funding and the ideas ready to go for a load of different projects, but they just need a home to be able to do that. And I think particularly in our rural communities, it is so important that you have a hub and a base for those communities to grow and flourish. So, you know, anything that we can do to try and to expedite the process and get it to a conclusion as soon as possible, and hopefully have Victoria Community Group in a new premises. I think we need to do everything, but welcome the update so far. And I know that Councillor Devine wanted to be here today to speak to it herself, but couldn't be here and send apologies, but more than supportive and happy to propose the recommendation. Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Councillor Boggs. So we have a proposer from Councillor Boggs. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Seconder. And Alderman Kerrigan, would you like on?
Very briefly, Chair, thank you. Just a question. Are we looking at potentially now at another porta cabin? And have we a lifetime span of that? Or is there any potential, if there is an agreement here with the school, has there been discussion there, or have we looked at the potential of building a permanent structure on that site? I know there's talk of that, of the school maybe transferring there as well, but it's just the situation. What lifespan are we going to have with it, or will that be included in the report of putting on another porta cabin? I mean, I think the current situation is that the current porta cabin is not fit for purpose. So are you still going to have a thing that's going to last maybe another 15, 20 years, and then you're going to be back to the stage of another expenditure of purchase again? You know, is there any potential, if we're being able to move on to a site on that, is there the potential of actually building a permanent structure, or can it be included in the report? Thank you, Chair.
Through yourself, Chair, we'll be looking at all options, restrictions of the site, the size of the site, but the existing prefab is not fit for purpose. There would be an amount of work needed done with the floor, we wouldn't be suggesting that that would be moved. It would have to be the purchase of a brand new building control compliant prefab, or, I can't comment in terms of the size of the site and building and that, but all of those options will be explored and presented through the capital working group anyway, once we conclude the legalities and we see that this project's actually a goer. So that's something that will come before members at a future date as well.
Thank you, Barry. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, again for the opportunity, and I welcome the engagement, up to now and ongoing engagement that there is there to resolve this situation at Victoria Bridge. As has been rightly said, the community group there from their inception in the 40 cabin where they were very progressive and working within that overall community for the benefit of the residents in that area. And I welcome what's in front of us here. But members will also recall that when this issue came to us previously, I asked that Ardstraw Community Preschool Group would be engaged with, because they find themselves in a similar situation where their facility is at end of life, shall we say, which is similar to the Victoria Bridge scenario. So has there been, I mean, it was agreed again by council, has there been any engagement with the Ardstraw Community Play Group with regard to the issue that they face based in the local primary school there as well?
Through yourself, Chair, I don't have the details around that, but we can get information back around that. The community development section engage regularly with all the groups out there, on the ground. So it's not something I have detail on today around this. Thanks.
I look forward to hearing what progress or engagement has taken place there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Heaney.
No, Barry, just because you've mentioned it a couple of times now, in relation to the capital working group, are you aware of a date in the diary for that to meet again? Because I'm not. But if you do, if you could let us know.
No, the dates are issued through the Chief Executive's office, so we'll seek clarification on that.
Thank you, Karen. So just for records, that was proposed by Councillor Boggs, seconded by Councillor Farrell. So moving on to number 9, which is the Integration and Support Programme for Asylum Seekers and Refugees in the Derry City and Strabane District Council area during 2013-2014, including plans for Phase 2 support during 2024 to 2025. And is this Barry again?
Thank you, Chair. Members, you'll recall approval was previously given to progress with the tender exercise and seek applications from organisations to develop a wraparound support service for asylum seekers and refugees in the council area. And following that exercise, People First were appointed to develop a needs analysis, including the delivery and integration support programme for asylum seekers and refugees within the council area. The work, members, took place and completed in March this year. In terms of the integration and support programme that started and completed in March, various activities took place as part of the integration programme. An example of some of the programmes included informal English classes, a football tournament with local teams supported by street soccer, cultural awareness workshops, employability workshops, and getting prepared for leave to remain status. So members, People First have provided council with a detailed final report on the barriers to integration. Activities that were delivered as part of the programme, including pre and post activities, statistics and recommendations to build on the existing work should further funding become available. Early this in June, TAO informed council they're now in a position to move ahead with the allocation of Home Office refugee integration funding to councils for the 24-25 financial year. This funding has been released by the Home Office to support projects which will support refugee integration and self-sufficiency. The deadline for receipt of high-level proposals to TAO was the 21st of June this year. A proposal was submitted to TAO from council for Phase 2, outlining the proposed integration project based on the recommendations that were included in the final report from People First. The Executive Officer will assess the submissions received and notify council of the outcome. If council is successful, a procurement exercise will follow to appoint a suitable organisation to deliver Phase 2 of the support and integration programme. So members, TO has indicated again that funding of up to £50,000 is available to support refugees and asylum seekers for this financial year. So in terms of recommendations, that you note the content of the report and that members approve the procurement exercise for the implementation of phase 2 of the support and integration programme for asylum seekers and refugees within the council area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Do we have a proposer? Proposed by Councillor Boggs, seconded by Councillor Heaney. All right. Item number 10 is Age-Friendly Guide to Services 50+, pages 2003 or 203, sorry, to 292. Barry's going to take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. Members, you'll know that a key action within the age-friendly strategy and action plan adopted for council area was to develop an information pack for persons aged 50+ years, focusing on resources and services tailored to the needs. The format of the guide, the services for 50+ has been modelled on the World Health Organization 8 domains for age-friendly cities and communities. The age-friendly coordinator is led on the production and development of the asset mapping and content for guide the services for the 50+ across Derry City and Strabane District Council. The over 50s reference group provided insight and direction regarding the design, colour, features and content and layout of the guide, in addition to agreeing the wording of the title to the guide to services for the 50+. This guide is aimed at supporting people within the council area who are unable to access details of signposting information and relevant services digitally, and to promote inclusion and access to services for persons 50 years and above. So members, the design and printing of the guide to services was funded by PHA as part of their programme costs for this year. So in terms of the recommendation, that members note the content of the report and endorse the age-friendly guide to services for 50+. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. And Councillor Boggs?
Chair, and thanks, Barry. I'm happy enough to propose it if it's proposed. Just one question in relation to the document that's there. Really informative, and I think especially in relation to the different organisations that are out there, informative and also user-friendly for people to contact them. But I just noticed that some of the organisations, and some of them are ones that I've kind of signposted people to in the past that needed their services, they don't all have contact details included with them. Is there a reason, I'm thinking of local ones in particular, that there would be local contact details for? Why are they missing from the report and the booklet thing?
I'll check that out, Chair. I'm not sure of that, but if they are missing, we'll get that rectified. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. So proposed by Councillor Boggs, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Moving on to number 11. So it is the Neighbourhood Renewal Active Citizenship through Sport Programme to 2024 to 2025. And Barry is going to take us through that. Members,
this is to update you on the programme and to seek your approval of the issue of letters of offer and service level agreements to lead groups outlined. And you'll see that within your report in section 3.3 in the 5 urban DAs, Triax, Outer North, Outer West, Waterside and Strabane. We're seeking your approval for 5 lead partners: St Mary's Youth Club, Shantala Residents, Ballymac and Hazelbank Community Group, Waterside Neighbourhood Renewal Partnership and Strabane Health Improvement Project. So we're seeking your approval to allocate those funds for the programme for this year. And just for information, the 10,000 allocation, as always, members, is for training, will be managed and delivered through Council Sports Development section, and we run an element of our coach education programme through that. So in terms of the recommendation, that members approve the issue of letters of offer and SLAs to the lead organisations outlined in your report for the 24-25 financial year.
Thank you, Barry. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Barry, for that report. Just to declare an interest as well before I speak on it, as the organisation I work for would be a beneficiary of one of the funds. Barry, I just wanted to ask, do you see the £10,000 allocation for training? Is that for council staff only, or is there opportunity for the organisations that earn receipt of the monies to put forward either staff or volunteers to avail of training that will benefit the organisation in the long run in delivering physical activity programmes?
Yourself, Chair, no, that budget isn't for council staff. That's for coach education programmes for residents across the district. So we have an extensive coach education programme across all our sports: soccer, Gaelic, rugby. Sometimes we have walk leaders and we have physical activity programmes. So that's open and available to all individuals involved with sports clubs within the district.
That's great. Thank you very much. And the money does be put to good use through the programmes that are delivered in the Triax area and the rest of the areas. Just wish there was more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Are you happy to propose?
Propose.
Sorry, Barry, putting you on the spot. Do you see in terms of the funding there for training and coaching, do you have to come through one of the organisations, or can we come straight to the Council Sports Development section?
For yourself, Chair, no, that's through our sports development section. So we have an annual coach education programme run normally over the winter months. And so, but if there's any changes or any clubs out there that want different sports courses on, we're happy. We normally run the basic ones. It could be, yeah, well, we have run that. So look, any suggestions to sports development team, if we can get, we supplement this with the sports development budget as well. So any courses where we can get 12 or 15 people on, we're quite happy to run them and try and secure additional funding from somewhere if there's a need out there with any of the governing bodies or any of our individual sports clubs.
Thank you, Barry. So proposed by Councillor Hutton. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Duffy. Perfect. So we're on to item number 12, which is the NI Housing Executive Community Involvement and Cohesion Strategy 2024 to 2029 consultation responses. And Barry is going to take us through this.
Chair, members will be brief in this one. This is just to update you on the Housing Executive's consultation and to seek your approval for the response prepared on behalf of Council. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Duffy.
Look, I'm just happy to propose that the consultations there, I've read through it. I think in terms of the cohesion project coming through the Housing Executive is really vitally important for our communities in terms of bringing people together, but also the funding that it provides. So I'm more than happy to propose the report. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. So we have a proposer from Councillor Duffy. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McDade. Perfect. So item number 13 is determination of applications for registration of societies whose lottery scheme incorporates a rollover. And Seamus is going to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair, and members. I'll be brief as well. You'll be aware that many sport and non-profit organisations run lottery schemes as a source of income. The report outlines the legislation relating to this registration of society and lotteries and Council's role in administrating those applications. The report outlines the financial rules which have to be considered when determining applications and the risk that organisations may experience with paying out on rolling jackpot prizes. There's been a lack of direction and guidance to date in relation to the legislation, and is therefore recommend that Council write to DFC requesting clarification and guidance relating to rollover of society lottery schemes. And in the interim, members are asked to approve the proposed approach where registration will take place on the proviso that the rules for society lotteries have been satisfied.
Thank you, Seamus. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Farrell and a seconder? Councillor McDade. Perfect, thank you. And item number 14, Seamus, that's you again.
Thanks, Chair, and members. I'll take the report as read and just recommend the committee approve the acceptance of the grant funding letter to the level of 55,000 with the Office of Product Safety and Standards for this financial year.
Thank you, Seamus. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Farrell, seconder? Alderman Wilkinson, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to open for information and we'll just go through each one and indicate to speak if you would like to speak on an item. So number 15, Councillor Boggs.
Good Chair, and I suppose obviously we don't have to take a decision on it, just for information, but I kind of welcome, as sad as that sounds about Blue Green Hockey, I kind of welcome the fact that we have this in front of us because of the issues that we've highlighted in this council chamber, particularly around Murlough over the last year and certainly over recent months. I think this gives a direction of travel now for all agencies to know where we all stand, because I think, to be fair to Seamus, we have done more than maybe we should have been doing, or more than we could have could have accepted to do, particularly when it comes to Murdoch. So I just want to put my thanks again on record to Seamus and his team for the work that they have done. I've been a torture in relation to Murdoch, and I'm more than aware of it, but I appreciate the support that Seamus and his team have provided. The only thing that I would still kind of query in relation to the report is on 5.4 about decision to remove restrictions. It still doesn't really highlight who is responsible for making that decision. So we still would find ourselves, you know, if this was fully up and running and we were all doing it to the letter of the law, once, you know, signage or restrictions would be put up at an area, we're still in the limbo of, is it NIEA, is it DAERA, is it Locks Agency, is it local councils, is it the PHA? So it still isn't clear in my mind about where that responsibility lies, but I definitely think it's a bit clearer than maybe a bit clearer of a space than we have been in thus far in relation to these kinds of issues. But I definitely think there's still a bit of work to be done, and I welcome the Murdoch working group. I said at the last one needed not to become the blue-green algae working group, because that's what it seemed to be since it was set up, and that's not what it's for. But I do think that there is a strong commitment from all those agencies and departments around the table that they are keen to work with us on it. But I still think that we need to make sure that we know ourselves where the line is drawn for council, and I don't think that's explicit still, even after this report. But welcome it in some ways, but just to put those comments on the record, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boggs. Anyone else on item number 15? No. Item number 16, Councillor Hutton and then Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. And it was just to acknowledge the very detailed report, which I haven't fully read, but I was trying my best to get through. It's great to have this type of information at hand, but it's also depressing to read as well, knowing that there's so much disparity still existing in relation to health inequalities, particularly the disparities between the health in individuals who come from an area of high deprivation and those who don't. So it's good to see this evidence gathering piece of work and have that information to hand, and particularly as well for organisations like Council, the community and voluntary and statutory agencies when they're applying for funding, to have that information to hand. But I suppose what I wanted to do today was welcome the announcement by the Health Minister, Mike Nesbitt, yesterday in relation to the Live Better pilot. So I think that this is a step forward by the Executive, and I know that this will only be coming down and delivered as a pilot in 2 areas which haven't been announced yet, but it's showing the eagerness and the determination to put a full plan in place for 3 years to roll the Live Better pilot out throughout the north and not just the 2 areas. I suppose as well, it's to welcome the fact that Raphael Bengoa will be coming again in the autumn. He was here 10 years ago. Michelle O'Neill, the then Health Minister, wrote a document called Delivering Together. This will build upon that document that had been written by Michelle, and when Raphael comes again in the autumn, he will help us, and he will help the Executive to build that process of change, which we strongly and urgently need here within the North to tackle and close that gap when it comes to health inequalities, which is a societal issue, because it can be like economic issues, it's in relation to poverty, child poverty, social isolation. So it's to welcome that report and to have it at our fingertips, and to welcome the announcement by Mike Nesbitt yesterday as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. And on a similar vein, the Councillor Hutton, I wanted to briefly comment on the health inequalities report, and I know it's been discussed over the years in this council chamber. And when we look at it, there's a clear correlation between areas that are deprived and not deprived. Areas that experience poverty and deprivation have poorer health outcomes. They have more difficult, more complicated, and ultimately shorter lives. And I looked at some of the statistics within the report. A man living in a deprived area across this council area can expect to live to the age of 71, whereas a man that lives in Downshire East up in leafy Lisburn can expect to live to 83 years of age. A woman lived in one of the most deprived areas of Derry will be lucky to reach the age of 78. But if she lives up in Newton Abbey, it's 86. So there is a clear correlation between wealth and health. And I also welcome Mike Nesbitt's intervention where he's going to launch this Live Better pilot. He said that he's going to roll it out in 2 specific but unspecified locations at the present. When we look at the data included in this report, it is clear that one of those locations needs to be in our council area. I'm not going to make a proposal now, but I do think that council should be looking at that data, making an argument for one of those pilots to be local. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Councillor Harkin?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, look, the Health Inequalities Report is a very useful document outlining the scale of inequalities across our society and across in our district. And as other councillors have said, look, it depends where you live. It depends what your income is. It depends, often what your class background is as to what your health is going to look like and how long you're going to live and what the quality of living is going to look like for you. So we often say, money doesn't make you happy, but it certainly makes your health better. That's one thing you can read into this report. And I think it's taken too long for government to respond to what was already clear in terms of, the growing gap in terms of the deprivation and, those are well off in terms of health outcomes. But it's welcome that there's something happening now and it's only a pilot, but that'll allow us to actually test that and see if we can then apply it and make it better across society. Not as Councillor Farrell said, there's a difference in our district between the well-off in our district and people living in more deprived areas, and we also fall the life expectancy for people right across our district is also less than the average across the north as well, which is extremely worrying and unacceptable. So, this report puts a focus on inequality, health inequalities in particular. I think we all know the pressures that our health service is on, and the health service is not just about going to the hospital when you're sick. It's about an overarching strategy to make your life better and to make communities healthier. In reference to the Bengoa report, look, I know it's referenced a lot as the solution or part of the solution, but I will say that the trade union movement did oppose many of the proposals that were contained in it. What we actually need is a massive infusion of funding, and I think that has to be the demand now that we're taking to this new Labour government. Whether people are cynical about that or not, that's the starting point. We need more money going into the health service rather than rationalisation of services that are falling apart already. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. So we will move on. Item number 17. Alderman Carrick.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. And a couple of wee items on this one in regards to, I clicked on the wee link to see the map, and I noticed a gap in Newton Stewart and a gap in Dunnamana as well. And I do notice there's always been an ongoing issue in regards to the signage. And again, I welcome that there's so much on social media, but to be truthful, the ones that are maybe needing to use the facilities are of the age that are not sitting on social media and are not linked into their phone or smartphone or anything else. And again, it's the signage in the areas. We did have the sign which was on the old toilet block, which was in Castleberg, which obviously was tossed. So that's gone, and it's trying to still locate that. Querying the question in 3.1, it states that there potentially an additional, there were additional premises there which to try and increase your target to 20 on that one there, and it's just a query in that. Is there any of those going to be either in Newton Stewart or Dunnamana? And following on from that as well, there's a wee list here, Seamus, unfortunately. Dunnamana's toilet block is closed, but we still have the Plum, we still have Crana, we still have Barnes Gap opened, and I'm just wondering about the additional cost. That I'm not seeking to get them closed. I'm just asking about the additional cost to keep those open, but Dunnamana was closed. And just as a final little dig into the heel here, was raised again and has been continually raised by myself and Alderman Hussey, and he might be coming in as well. Was raised again yesterday at ENR about the play facilities which are being upgraded at Vaughan's Home, hopefully, and at the Castle Park, and about provision of toilet facilities when they go from local to either neighbourhood or district. And again, if there could be discussions had with ENR, I'm not putting the pressure on that health and communities are to fund that, but again, it would assist both those places, and it would provide at least maybe one public toilet facility in Newton Stewart as a whole, be that even in the Sperrin DEA and not in the Derg. But if you can just touch base on those couple items there, thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and take them one by one here. So in terms of the gaps, Newton Stewart and Dunnamana, we are liaising with businesses. Newton Stewart has been difficult getting uptake for the community toilet scheme. Dunnamana does have public toilets, and they should be open very shortly. We're training staff at the minute that have been recently recruited. Signage, Castle Derg should have signs now. As I say, we have been amending the signage, and additional signs have been located across the city and district. And we will continue to try and promote that scheme as best we can, because we think it has been a success, and we will continue to report into this committee in terms of how we can improve that. Barnes Gap, Plum Bridge, Cyan Mills are public toilets that this committee or this council has agreed to keep open. And Dunnamana is also on that list, and there's works underway at the minute. I understand we're liaising with the ENR team in relation to starting those works fairly shortly. And there's a budget set aside in terms of repairs and maintenance for those facilities. In terms of play facilities, we are liaising with the Environment Regeneration Directorate on their play strategy. But ultimately, they have taken into consideration the guidance in relation to that, where toilets should be facilitated, budget implications, and those will all be reported back to ENR committee. And we're also liaising with the Business and Culture Committee in relation to tourism. And some members will be aware that there's been meetings held on site in Crana, for instance. So those discussions are ongoing in terms of where, for instance, we may need to improve facilities across city and district. Hopefully that's all those questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Seamus. Alderman Hussey.
I don't know if I should bother coming in. We've already dealt with. On the last response there, Seamus, I appreciate what you're bringing to us. And I note that within the report it refers to that issue of toilet facilities matching criteria for neighbourhood and district play parks lying within the control of ENR. But you're telling us, yes, it may lie within their control, but there is liaison with health and community in regard to that, and that is extremely welcome. With regard to the signage thing, I think Alderman Kerrigan did refer there to those of a certain age, which I fall into. And, you know, for example, if I get off a plane, first thing I'm looking for a sign to tell me where to go. I'm not going to my phone to find a QR code or whatever that technology is. And there's the issue of signage and recognition. I'm looking at the batch of signs here, and I don't know, maybe it's me, but I just haven't seen any of those yet. I don't know where they are. And we've had community toilet scheme in particularly Castle Derg, as you know, for some considerable time, but I haven't seen that signage. And with regard to somebody on the street in the main thoroughfare of our town, you know, the thing they look for is a finger post. that's what they look for. You look up, where's the sign pointing you to the toilet? Should it be pointing you to the community toilet scheme or whatever? So that whole issue of signage, and I think that's what we've been harping on about for quite a few meetings, whether it's an ENR or health and community, where's the signage? That's what we want to see. And we want to ensure that those who have the signage are providing the facility that is being indicated on the signs. And I welcome the fact that there is the attempt to expand the scheme. I just wonder, is there the potential within the scheme? I mean, obviously those involved in the community toilet scheme are paid a certain amount of money for providing the facility. But there are those who do this regularly on a voluntary basis. I think of my own trade, the publicans, never seem to have an issue with somebody coming in. If you ask permission, they say, certainly you can use the toilet. So it's a voluntary.
Sorry, we must hear you.
It's a voluntary scheme almost. And wonder, would there be scope to examine with other businesses who are quite willing for their toilet facilities to be used?
Through you, Chair, a couple of points there, Alderman Hussey, I'll try and answer. In terms of signage, there has been additional signs installed, including Castlederg, and I'm happy enough to try and get further details in terms of where specifically they have been installed in Castlederg. The other thing to point out in terms of Castlederg is there's more businesses participating in the community toilet scheme in Castlederg than any other village, hamlet, town within the council area. So there should be adequate provision, and we'll try and just promote the scheme and where those participating businesses are located. You're right in saying that there's a large number of businesses, including council premises, that permit members of the public to use their facilities at no cost, and we've captured that on the council website as well. And I think it's fair to say that whenever we first entered into this process back in 2017, it was accepted that the majority of people would probably prefer to use facilities within a business than those standalone public toilets that were in place at that time. So we'll try and continue having a mix of community toilet schemes and standalone facilities and liaise with businesses going forward to increase availability.
Thank you, Seamus. Councillor Boggs?
Stuff of real change, community toilet schemes. Just to pick up on what Seamus said, and it's the question that I had as well. You look at Castlederg, there's 5, 4 of those are independent businesses, one's a council facility. There's 4 in Strabane, all of which are council facilities, 2 of which aren't in the town centre. One's Riversdale and one's the district council offices. The other one's Melvin and the alley. The alley isn't always open at all times, depending on what is on, particularly in the evenings. So I suppose my question is, I've seen the blue signage in and around Strabane. It's very, very welcome. I think it's eye-catching, and it's put up in areas where people can see it, which is good. But at the same time, they're scanning the barcode to find that their nearest toilet is out the Derry Road, or it's in Melvin, or it's in Riversdale, the other side of the town, or it's in the alley, but the alley may not be open. So for the Strabane element of it, I would ask again, and I've asked this before, what is being done to encourage more local businesses to get on board? Has there been conversations with the BID team and Emma and her team to try and get more businesses on board? Because we have all 4 council facilities, but they're not suitably located and they do not offer the same hours of access that our private businesses would, or local businesses would. So I would be really keen to hear, since the last time we had a conversation, what engagement there has been with local businesses, specifically in Strabane town, and whether BID has been part of that conversation. And if not, could that be something that's taken forward over the summer recess? Because I think when you can get 4 businesses in Castlederg and you can't get 1 in Strabane, there's something not marrying up for me, and I would like to know what it is. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, and Councillor Boggs, thanks for the questions. A couple of points probably to bear in mind is that the standalone public toilets are open at 8 and close at 5. So I do appreciate Alley Theatre may not be open at I suspect it would be open hours beyond 5 particular days of the week. So there's a benefit in having that particular premise as part of the scheme. The other thing to bear in mind too is that there's many businesses, as referred to earlier, that don't want to participate in the scheme, but are happy for the public to use their facilities. And so we probably maybe could do more in capturing those premises and having them listed, and we'll try and do that. So we have been liaising with businesses across the city and district. In relation to your query specifically about the bid, I would need to double check in terms of what conversations have taken place with that group, and we'll feed back to you on that.
Thank you, Seamus. We will move on then to item number 18. No. Item number 19. 20. Councillor Farrell.
Just very briefly on the HMOs, I asked Seamus to provide more detail, and he has. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Item number 21. Item number 22. All right. Do we have a proposer and seconder to go into confidential? Proposed by Councillor Boggs, seconded by Councillor Heaney.